Hey guys, so I never got a real chance to talk about this, but apparently AEW, on behest of the WBD, Warner Bros. Discovery, has come out with a list of moves that will be banned if not needing approval by coaches, medical staff, and so on. And obviously, this has got a lot of people talking because there are some people already kind of wondering, and worrying, if not wondering and worrying, I should say, that AEW is going to be turning into WWE Light, or they're going to turn into the WCW of the early to mid 90s. And look, I get why people are fearful of this, why they don't like, this news and everything with some of these, with this announcement and all that. Mainly because they look at AEW as being that major alternative they've been wanting. Basically, an alternative that's reminiscing of the Attitude Era, of ruthless aggression, stuff like that. So, yeah, I can understand why they feel that way, and rightfully so. And even, people like JD and Alex, they read this list off and they're like, yeah, most of it we can understand the reasoning behind, but some of them are like, really? You're going to, stop that from happening? That doesn't make any sense. So, what are the list of rules and everything that must be adhered? Well, basically, excuse me, basically, it's called the AEW Health and Safety Protocols Relating to Matches. This is what was put out by AEW, and I quote. It says, this was the memo. This was the ban memo that was put out. This is what it says, and I quote. The health and safety of our staff, talent, crew, and fans are a paramount paramount. Okay, let me read that. This is what the memo says, and I quote. The health and safety of our talent, staff, crew, and fans are of paramount importance to AEW. Our medical team, coaches, and referees have developed the following protocols to ensure that our matches are performed as safely as possible. We know there is some risk in professional wrestling performances, but our objective is to ensure that we minimize the risk without compromising the quality of the performance and our talent's ability to be creative. More simply put, AEW seeks to perform all stunts and spots as safely as possible. To that end, please review the following protocols. If you have questions, please ask any member of our coaching staff, medical staff, or legal team. Please respect your coaches, referees, and team medical, all of whom are working to try to keep you safe and healthy. Now, these are the following moves that are banned, and this is what it says, and I quote. The following moves are not allowed under any circumstances. They are prohibited for your safety, safety of the staff and crew, safety of our fans, and compliances with laws and venue requirements. Here's what they said. And they go like this, and I'm going to read off it right now. Make sure I have it online to make sure I get everything right here. I have the page right here. These are basically the following moves that are not allowed under any circumstances. They are prohibited for your safety of the, okay. These are the following moves that are not allowed under any circumstances. These are prohibited for your safety, the talent's safety, safety of the staff, crew, and the fans, and is in compliance with laws and venue requirements. The first one is unprotected shots to the head. Now, obviously, this relates probably all the way back to when AEW started, and we saw Shawn Spears hit Cody Rhodes with that very vicious unprotected chair shot that got everybody talking. And basically, people, were fearful that Cody might have gotten injured, he might have gotten injured to the point that he had a career-ending concussion, stuff like that. And then, of course, you had the whole thing with Matt Hardy and Sammy Guevara. So it's things like that they're kind of more like, yeah, we got to be more careful about this, guys. So we're not going to allow unprotected chair shots anymore. The other one is shots to the back of the head. Obviously, this is, in compliance to the concussion protocol, and basically the fact that those could not only end careers, may even end lives. So obviously that is a good move on their part. Now, going further along, the other moves that are prohibited: buckle bombs, blind moves backwards into the turnbuckle, fencing response, seizure cells. In other words, if you go back and you You watch that match with with Bryan Danielson and Koshisuka Okada from Forbidden Door 2. Bryan did a bit of a sell, like a seizure sell. That's not allowed anymore. Spitting, not allowed. Blood in the crowd, i.e. no bleeding while in the crowd, and no throwing bloody gear, tape, or other objects into the crowd. Weapons, projectiles in the crowd. Taking drinks or food from guests in the crowd, which, of course, MJF has been known to do. Now he can't do that anymore. You know, he might be able to do it. He might be the only one that gets away with it and say, hey, put a plant there, I'll throw it in the face, make it look like the fan. Can't do that. I don't even know if he'll be able to do that now. Physical contact with the crowd. Example, wrestler holding an opponent and allowing a fan to chop them. Can't allow that. Now, those are the moves that are prohibited. Again, these are the moves that I just read off that are prohibited for talent safety, safety of the crew, and safety of the fan in compliance and is in compliance with laws and venue requirements. Now, here are the moves that are allowed if approved by medical and the match coach and must be performed in accordance with any safety protocols. These are the following moves that, again, are only allowed if approved by medical and the match coach and must be performed in accordance with safety protocols. Check this out. These moves are spots and bumps on the ring apron and outside. Table, ladder, chair spots in and out of the ring, only allowed with padding. Any elevated spots outside of the barricades, dives, and ladder spots on stage, around the arena, and other places outside the ring. All pile driver, tombstone variations, including sit-down drivers, inverted poison hurricane rana, and vertebreakers. High-risk dives or top rope moves. 450, 630, double moonsaults, SSP, shooting star press, etc. Intentional bleeding, intentional bleeding, or of any sort, not just blading. Throwing people into, through, / over ring ropes, or ring steps, commentary table, bell table, or guardrails, barricades, weapons, use. Okay, let me read that. Throwing people into, through, over ring steps, commentary table, bell table, or guardrails, barricades, that has to be approved. Weapons usage. This has to be approved as well. Canes, pipes, candlesticks, hammers, ring bells, bats, chairs, etc., title belts, thumbtacks, skewers, barbed wire, and any other sharp puncturing objects or powders, arsenal sprays, or aerosol sprays, or liquids. Throwing any weapons or objects, chairs, etc., choking, strangling with hands or a weapon or hanging spots, injury spots or angles, whether or not medical is involved, called to the ring, any physicality in the crowd or crowd brawling, any physicality involving referees, managers, extras, celebrities, or special guests. Now, they do say at the end that this list can be modified at any time, basically be changed to where some of these won't be banned, some of them might be more enforced, stuff like that. So, yeah. Basically, long story short, a lot of the talent that is known for doing some of these things that are going to need approval now or are going to not be allowed anymore, some of the talent you could tell, they'll comply with it, but they're not happy with it. Some people have said that the one person, when it comes to the bleeding portion and everything, that's been always known to always bleed, even a little bit in his matches, is Jon Moxley. A lot of people feel that this is going to hinder him, but let's not forget, Jon Moxley has a lot of say in that company. He is a behind-the-scenes guy, too. He's a coach and all that, so he has a lot of say. So him being somewhat of a coach, I think he's going to be able to get away with it more so than anybody. But that's just my opinion. But yeah, basically, them doing these moves and not moves, but them doing this, obviously, let's be completely honest, folks. This is obviously done because they're working out a TV rights deal with the WBD. And the WBD, because they want to get behind AEW, All Elite Wrestling, they want to make sure that what they're presenting on a national level is something that doesn't make them look, stupid, doesn't make them look like they're making a bad investment. They want to show that, hey, we made a great investment in All Elite Wrestling. So all of you guys out there should look into wrestling product as well as possibly something to invest in. But yeah, I get not a lot of fans are going to enjoy this, because again, like I mentioned earlier, they feel it's going to water down AEW. It's going to not make it the alternative they were always hoping it would be. That they feel it's going to be turned into, a modern day version of mid 90s WCW, stuff like that. And look, I get how you feel. I get how you feel about that. I mean, some of the decisions they are making don't make sense and all that. I do agree. I mean, again, though, the moves that are banned, unprotected shots to the head, unprotected chair shots to the head, back, shots to the back of the head. That's understandable. Buckle bombs. I mean, look what happened with Seth Rollins and Sting in WWE. Buckle bombs. Brian moves backward into the turnbuckle. Fencing response. Seizure cells. Can't do that anymore because you don't want to make it. Basically, long story short, AEW does not want to make it look like they're allowing the inmates to run the asylum. Basically, this is being done now to show, hey, you inmates are going to have to fall in line now, whether you like it or not. The spitting, of course, because of germs and all that. Blood in the crowd. Again, germs, hepatitis, stuff like that. Weapons and projectiles in the crowd. Of course, you don't want people to get injured. I mean, if you go and watch, BJW Forever. BJW Forever, I think. Or BDJW Forever. One of them. One of those, if you will. Let's see if I can find it. Hold on. But, yeah, here we go. BDJW Forever. If you go and watch some of them, there are moments from past shows, independent or not, where weapons will be used, ladders and all that will be used, and then sometimes they'll get, used to a point that they'll end up in the crowd out and hitting a fan unintentionally in the crowd. So that's what they're talking about. Taking drinks or food from guests in the crowd. Look, again, I mentioned MJF has been known to do this. You can't do that no more because it's going to make your company look bad and make the people that are behind you, that are supporting you, look bad. And of course the physical contact with the crowd, basically a wrestler can't hold another wrestler for a fan to go like that. Can't do that. Now, for the moves that are only allowed if approved by medical and the match coach and must be performed in accordance to its safety protocols, spots and bumps on the ring apron and outside, of course, you want to make sure that if you're going to do that it's done safely, because let's say, for example, Kevin Owens' buckle bomb, he's basically if that's done wrong, with big time aggression, if you will, that can go wrong. That can go a foul, and somebody could injure the back, if not break the back, if you will. So you want to make sure that if you're going to do it, it's done accordingly. Elevated spots. All elevated spots outside of the barricades, dives, spots on stage, outside the arena, and other places outside the ring. Yes, you gotta have those approved and everything, because something could again go wrong. Again, going back to the Matt Hardy, Sammy Guevara situation, you kind of see what we're talking. You kind of see what they're getting at. Table, ladder, chair spots in and out of the ring only allowed with padding, because if you do it without padding, there's a good chance again you can suffer serious injury, if not worse. The pile drivers, tombstone variations, sit down drivers, inverted / poison hurricanrana, inverted breakers. Yes, those have to be approved, because again, if done wrong, something can seriously go wrong with the neck or the back. High risk dives or top rope moves like 450, 630, double moonsaults. Shooting star press, etc. Yes, understandable why they have to be done, because if they're not done, appropriately or in accordance, it could result in injury. Maybe not a bad injury, but still, again, you go back a long time ago, look what happened with Draws and D'Lo Brown unintentionally. That will kind of get you an understanding of as to why they're doing this. Throwing people into, through, over ring steps, commentary table, bell table, guardrails, barricades, understandable because sometimes it might go wrong and a fan might get hit by by a foot, or basically hit with the entire wrestler, if you will, if they're thrown over awkward, or someone that's not supposed to be in the action, like the bell keeper, the ring announcer, the announce team, stuff like that. The weapons usage, of course, that's got to get approved because, again, if you want to, you got to base, because now it's like, okay, the weapon usage, chairs, okay, if you're going to use a chair, make sure it's protected. Pipes, candlesticks, hammers, ring bells, and all that, all has to be approved because if not, it could feel, something could go wrong. Thumbtacks, skewers, barbed wire, other sharp puncturing objects, or powders, arsenal, or aerosol sprays, or liquids, yeah, that has to be approved as well because you don't want to have to be like, okay, I'm going to go take this bottle of alcohol and splash it right in Eddie Kingston's face and have him sell it, and it's going to really legitimately burn him. You got to make sure, okay, is it all alcohol, or is it 50%, or is it 90% water, 10% alcohol, or whatever? Things like that. Throwing any weapons, objects, chairs, stuff, choking, strangling with hands, weapon, or hanging spots, injury spots, angles, whether or not medical is involved or called to the ring, physicality in the crowd brawling, any physicality involving referees, managers, celebrities, and special guests. These all have to be basically approved, essentially. These all have to be approved, essentially, if I can get that there so you can read it. These all have to be approved by medical, coaching, match coach, and I think what they say, and performed in accordance with any safety protocols. So, yeah, there are some wrestlers, there's no doubt, there are some wrestlers in AEW, men and women, that are going to be limited in what they can do, maybe. But again, it's being done for the safety of everybody. If you're allowed to just go out there and do whatever you want, what kind of a message is that sending? Yeah, I understand it. Yeah, and I understand it. It takes away from the allure. Hold on for a second. Like I said, I understand it takes away from the allure and the fact that this is supposed to be looked at as an alternative, and it still can be looked at as an alternative. I'm not saying it won't be. The point that's being done here, basically by AEW, is the fact that they're doing this at the behest of not just maybe Tony Khan and the coaching staff, but mostly at the behest of the Warner Bros. Discovery. This again shows you that Warner Bros. Discovery is now the true bosses. They are now the true owners of AEW. And if they believe that AEW can be a huge success despite the ratings and all that, or the length of their pay-per-views or whatever, and they feel that they need to make it as presentable as, let's say, WWE is, but in a different way, then they're going to do it. And if that means taking away what makes AEW special when it comes to certain talent, then so be it. Some people would say, well, people would say, excuse me, I'm getting a little tongue-tied here. People would say, well, Jon Moxley's known to bleed a lot. Well, this might limit him. And you know what? Renee Paquette, his wife, might be cool with this too, because what this does, essentially, is it limits him from always having to bleed or semi-bleed in every match. Like, we know he's going to bleed profusely this Wednesday with blood and guts. We know that. But, in other matches, it's going to limit him. Now, does that mean he's going to have to quench his thirst for blood and everything outside of AEW, more so than he's been doing in AEW? Absolutely. GCW, New Japan, wherever he's going to be allowed to finally go, like that, then so be it. He will do it. As long as he gets that quenched thirst, or that thirst quenched, if you will. But yeah, it's gonna change a lot of things. And yeah, some of the decisions and all that are not sensible. Some of the calls for banned moves or moves that have to be approved and everything, Yeah, they don't make sense. I'll give you that. I will give you that. But honestly, what did you expect? The bigger AEW becomes, and the more invested, a network or a company like WBD gets invested in them, the more things are going to change. That's what's going to happen. I mean, look at WWE. Okay, WWE, when they were on TNN, the Spike Network, when they were on Spike, and they were on UPN for a while, CW, they got to get away. They got to get away with a little bit more violence because they had less restrictions. But when they went back to USA, and when they went to Fox, those restrictions got limited, or not limited, but those restrictions got okay. Hold on, I'm losing my thought. Sorry, it's early. It's getting a little tongue tied here, but anyway, that's why I'm drinking some G Fuel right there. But anyway, what I was trying to say is when WWE was on Spike and on CW, they got to get away with a lot more, violence and everything. Now, of course, the whole 2007 situation with Benoit changed stuff around, there's no doubt. But even afterwards, they still were able to get away with just a bit more. There is no doubt about that. But, when they went to USA, when they went back to USA in the mid 2000s and everything, they were still, and then they brought SmackDown with them. Yeah, they were still able to, have less restrictions and all that. But over time, they were changing. And again, the whole Benoit situation really made them change overnight. There's no doubt about it. But the thing is, over time, USA, since they're running Raw and everything, basically got on them about, okay, you need to be less like this and more like this. And Fox, even though they seem to be like, hey, you could do a little bit more than what you're allowed to do. Even though, hold on for a sec. Sorry about that again. But anyway, like I said, even though Fox might be a little more lenient than USA, still over time things changed. USA, when they renewed with WWE to have Raw on there, and Fox basically agreed to have SmackDown, there were some things that came with it. Sorry about that again. But anyway, there were some restrictions and changes that came with it. The initial deal with them, again, like I said, it may not seem like it, but they were still able to get away with certain things. There's no doubt. But when they renewed, and then, like I said, Fox picked them up, picked SmackDown up, there were some changes. Fox may not have been as like, hey, you got to do this and that and change things up, like USA, but still there were some changes that needed to be made. The point that I'm getting at is, over time, things like this happen. And there's no doubt that we knew eventually this was going to happen with AEW. And it has. And who's to say, even if AEW didn't stay on TNT or TBS and they decided, we're going to go to Paramount, or we're going to go to Paramount, or we're going to go to ESPN or whatever. You cannot tell me that, they wouldn't be facing the same kind of changes there, because they would. Maybe not as much as what we got here, but they'd still be facing it. The point is, yes, when you get down to it, it is a bit of a disappointment. It is a bit of a disappointment that they're having to do this and all that, change things around, from what fans know and have loved about AEW, but there are reasonings for it. And those reasonings are to keep everybody safe, from the wrestlers, the staff, the talents, and all that, and the fans most importantly. Now, again, some of the decisions they've come up with, for approval, but if you will, seem a little ridiculous, like the referees and all that. And it's like, well, referees are meant to get bumped if they have to help to try to, make it look like the heel's going to win. Why do we need that to be approved? Because sometimes a move might go wrong and a referee might get injured. Let's go back to Tim White, if you will. Triple H and Chris Jericho, Hell in the Cell. He basically crashed into the side of the Hell in the Cell inside it. And his career basically came to an end. He tried to make a comeback, but after he had other complications, but still, his career at that time came to a halt because of a severe injury, an unplanned one, if you will. Well, maybe planned, but went awry, if you know what I mean. The thing is, you also look at what happened with Matt Hardy, and going back to it, Matt Hardy, Sammy Guevara, and everything. It's like, that could have ended Matt Hardy's career. You take a look at what happened with, Anna Jay recently in that tag team street fight that she and Ty Conte had with Willow and Ruby about a couple months ago. When she went off that stage, with that powerbomb courtesy of Willow, it's like, that could have gone wrong, horribly wrong. So you want to avoid that. So, look, I get it. Like I said, I get it. It feels like it's going to water down the product, and it might. It just might, but we'll have to see. If it does seem like it's going to be more WCW 2.0 for the modern era and everything, then so be it. But again, it's for everybody's safety. It's going to be, like I said, it's going to be for everybody's safety and the story. And again, it's like they say at the end, this list that they put out, it could be modified. Some of these bans might be lifted. Some of these approvals might be lifted and stuff. Or they might be more enforced. Or moves that don't need an approval might end up being banned. We don't know. Only time will tell. But guys, let me know what your thoughts are on this list put out by AEW for moves that are going to be banned and moves that need approval. What are your thoughts on it? Do you think it's going to water down the All Elite Wrestling product? Do you think it's going to improve it? Do you think it's going to turn it into WCW 2.0? More so than people already claim it is? Let me know. Give me your thoughts down below in the comment section. Love to hear from each and every one of you. Live chat during the premiere. Super chats are open in the live chat if you feel to donate. Also check out my BW Wrestling discussions, all your favorite audio podcast locations, except for Pandora. But more specifically, listen to BW Wrestling discussions on Spotify. That'll help me out in the long run. But guys, give me your thoughts. I'd love to hear from each and every one of you on this. Until then, I am out.